I'm Eldon Campbell. This is my wife of 51 years, Audrey. Just about 50. If we make it till November, it'll be 51 years. And we've got three children, 3 kids that are all grown up, 9 grandchildren. The youngest one is 11?
She'll be 11 this month,
11, and the oldest one is
25.
I was born here, it's right on in this lot. Then I had to, when I turned 18, I had to go away to work for a while. And then I came, when my daughter was ready to start school, we moved back to Kinosota here, and she went to school here. And all our kids did their schooling at Alonza. Yeah, we had cattle and horses, and we did a lot of our work with horses when I was a kid. All the haying was done with horses. We milked cows. My dad milked cows and shipped the cream for money, shipped animals for money. We never did have a big herd of cattle, but we always seemed to get by. He also had a sawmill that he sawed logs for the neighbors and sold the lumber.
Homemade butter.
And my mother churned butter, churned cream into butter. That is very interesting. Like everybody had something to do. It was always fun for us kids because we had something to do year round. You know, we never had TV at that time, and the little games they play now. We just we made our own games. Like we even tossed a stick in the air and caught it for it. I don't know what they called it. Tippy, I think they called it. Threw the ball over the house and went around and tried to catch somebody with it. And it's like anti-eye over, I think we called it. But we always had something to do. Skating on the lake in the wintertime, or trying to skate when I was younger. I wasn't a very good skater. Soccer, stuff with anything we'd get together. I went to a school about a half mile north of here, and it was a one-room school. We had one teacher teaching 8 grades, but there's never a big bunch of kids. But we always, like I say, we always had some. We always had dogs, and I had one little dog. I used to my dad made a harness for it, and then he'd take him with me, take him behind the horses, and I'd be riding with the dog, behind the dog. When I first started working, I went to a inland steel, and we made farm equipment there. Then from there, I went to Western Engine, where I rebuilt automotive parts, generators and starters and stuff like that, mostly electrical stuff. And then we went into, did all kinds of parts, water pumps and brake shoes also. And Shauna was born, that was in, when I tell her what the year was?
73.
73, we went, went to Reimer's trucking outfit and worked on heavy duty trucks there. I worked there for 12 years, I think. By that time, Shauna was starting to school, so Audrey was back here at home. Then
we bought a house trailer.
Yeah, we had a house trailer, right through that one is there now, but a different one. Then after that, we moved to, I don't know what year it was, but I started working for Edmondson's General Motors in Portage. And I used to come home twice a week then. And then I stayed at my sister's in Portage. Then I got a job at a fishing lodge later on, after our kids were growing up a little bit then.
Married and everything.
Yeah. And I worked there for 17 years until they shut down. And then by that time, I was time to retire. And that's what I've been doing now, retired.
Enjoying retirement?
Just what you see.
Yeah. So what's something you remember most, about growing up and being Métis?
The music, I guess. I first started playing guitar, but I remember when I was a kid, they'd have they called them dances, but they're parties, and my dad used to take out all the furniture and even had benches to put in along the wall, and people would come in there, and our living room wasn't much bigger than this, but they'd dance in there, square dancing, everything. And I remember my uncles, I had uncles on both sides of my dad's brother-in-law was a very good fiddler. His name was Willie Ross. When he'd come to these things, they'd say, if you don't have your fiddle, you might as well go home. But he always had it.
Yeah.
And then my uncles on my mother's side, my mother's brothers all played. There were 3 of them, and they all played. So they'd come to our place because I think, we had always had this an old pump organ that we had that my sisters used to play, and my mother, and then they'd come and play the fiddle. Like she brought this fiddle one time, and they'd come and play it. And then when they were playing for dances, lots of times they came and and borrowed our stuff to go and, or her stuff to go and play at that time. But I learned from that. I learned by starting to play the guitar for them, and learned how to chord for a fiddle, and that is one of the greatest things I had, is being able to learn music. And I started playing when I was 13. First tune I've learned to play was "Don't Be Cruel" by Elvis Presley.
Good tune.
Yeah. But ever since that's been most of my life, really. Just what I like doing mostly. Before COVID started, we used to have an old time dance once a month, but we still did. But then we did, after COVID came, we would do a little half-hour stint on this virtual thing, and once in a while just go and play here and there if they asked to play. I never refused to play anywhere, unless I was very sick or something. And then I had a great honor given to me in this keeping the fires burning. It was an indigenous thing where they honored their knowledge keepers and others, things for different things that people did. I was chosen by the MMF for my fiddling, and it's a great honor. I got a blanket and a feather, and I was among some pretty elite people there at that thing, and it was quite an honor for me. That was one of the biggest things.
What were some of the challenges for Métis people in the area at the time?
Finding work, mostly. Having to go away and find a job to keep. If you're starting a family, you had to look after them, and wasn't always that something to do here. In our early day, in our church was a big thing for us here. Like we had my mother used to play the organ at the church, and going to church on Sundays was a thing. I remember my dad carrying me when I was a kid to church. And then carry, because we had a little road through the bush we lived on, just not far over here, and they carried me there and back. But that was something we always did.
This was all both here.
And then now I play the organ for our church. We've been doing virtual services here, and I have a keyboard that I.
Well, your sister played too.
Yeah, my sister played.
Yeah.
This is all about me.
That's your family.
What was it like to raise your children in this community?
It was nice. It was good. It was because of they went to school in Alonza. Like there's no school here at that by that time. Went to school in Alonza, but they had all the things they needed there. Like their friends come, and sometimes there's 13 kids out in our yard playing around, playing ball or soccer, baseball, or whatever they do, and I see they put up a net there. It's down, but they had a net there for badminton and volleyball, and
now our grandkids do that.
Yeah, they just kept, and they right from the oldest one down to the youngest one, they're out there playing it as a group.
Yeah.
So and then they have their friends that come over from other places, and it's kind of a big playground here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good raising them here. I'm glad we were able to do it here and not have to do it in the cities. I guess things are better with transportation and stuff. I guess that'd be the greatest. A lot of times we were snowed in the wintertime. When I was younger, we'd stay home, but now the transportation is better and the education is good.
At one time where you had to go to the lake to go get your water.
Well, that's right. Yeah, we did that. In the summertime, we never drank lake water. In the wintertime, we did, and we'd just go and cut a hole and haul it up there, and then everybody drank out of the same thing with a dipper there. Yeah. And then we'd haul it or carry it from the well over at the church or at the hall. Okay. We had wells there, and that's what we drank in the summertime because the lake water didn't appeal to us in the summertime. Yeah. Too many people swimming in there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Too busy.
Yeah. One of the best things of history here is the Manitoba House. Oh. But it's all left there is a one little building there now. But the Métis people, the Métis local at that time, they built it right up to a hall. They had a hall and a cookhouse and different things. Like they built it right up to the way it was, or close to the way it was. I remember that my mom and dad had their 40th wedding anniversary there or something. Oh, okay. So that building, like the building went to ruin because the mostly because the guy wouldn't let them do anything with it.
Oh, okay.
And that was where the one of the treaties were signed, Treaty 2 maybe?
Was that Manitoba House?
Yeah. 151 years ago, I guess now. But all that's left is one building, and maybe you might see the roof of another one. That's where the Manitoba House trading post was.
Did your family, like, would you guys, like, harvest it? Or you had to go out berry picking and do all that?
Yeah, we
kind
did
of stuff?
that. We did that too. We had a hay meadow that was, I guess it was 8 miles from here. And there's lots of wild, we don't see wild strawberries anymore, but they were used for lots of wild strawberries and these other berries that were, I think they called them eye berries or something, but we did Saskatoons and choke cherries. There's choke cherry tree out here. It comes just full of choke cherries every year. But wild strawberries, I remember, I wish I missed that because we don't get them anymore. My dad was a fisherman, but he'd quit by the time I was ready to help. But then I'd go out and fish with a friend of ours at lifting nets and stuff. So I knew all about that, how to run the jiggers, and I could have, but I never did to get an outfit of my own. Yeah, we used to get the fish in the spring, and my mother used to can it. And like the suckers and stuff, they used to come right up the ditch to the hall, and that's where we'd catch them. But
There's always a big garden too.
Oh yeah, we always had a good garden.
Big garden, yes.
Big garden. Yeah.
How many hills of potatoes?
We used to put them in rows.
In rows?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember one time it was in 1959. We got a big snow early before it was a long weekend in October, and our potatoes were still in the ground. And I remember my dad taking that shovel and pulling that snow back and digging the potatoes out. But the ground wasn't frozen or anything, but the snow was deep. Yeah, we always had potatoes. And we always had we never had like pigs of our own, but we always bought one and raised it as a weanling and raised it till the winter and had that, and deer and stuff. We never
And chickens and geese.
Yeah, chickens and geese also.
Yeah.
We had everything
Ducks,
we needed,
A
Yeah.
little bit of everything.
Yeah, chickens and ducks and geese. We had this old man I was telling you about, our old uncle. He used to talk about this nannabush. He told us these nannabush stories, and they're all funny stories like that. We used to hear about the will-o'-the-wisp and stuff like that. Some people have seen it, like out on the lake. You see these lights going back and forth along the cracks, and that's what that was. You see, you Google that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a burning gas or something that comes out of the lake, but it burns. Audrey got chased by it one time coming home from bingo. When I was younger, we didn't even know there was such a challenge. Like everybody was the same, and we didn't even know that we had what our background was so much. My great grandfathers was from Scotland, and they spoke Gaelic. Some of them guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we learned from my mother's side. We got most of the Métis part, because then we had uncles. So my uncle was her uncle and my great uncle, but he taught us a lot, like different animal names and stuff like that. We learned that, but I don't know if it is so much. I guess took it as it came, I guess.
Yeah. Go with the flow.
Yeah, just went with the flow, and a lot of discrimination in hockey now too. You hear about it. Oh, there's one guy who called us the Kinosota Blackbirds one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're. I guess I did get some of them. I was one of the Kinosota Blackbirds. But one of the challenges is not being supportive of each other. In that time, most of the time, staying together as a group, and if you go your separate ways, you're not strong anymore. When I started high school, we were bused out of here to Alonzo, which is close enough. Mm-hmm. But some of the kids later on had to go to Amaranth, and then it is still further away.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any words of wisdom for our Métis youth today? What would you want to tell them?
I'd tell them to just keep getting an education, and be proud of what they are. No matter what, be proud of themselves, because they are something to be proud of.